What's up, class? My name is Kevin Chaik. I'm 31 years old. I'm from the Milwaukee area in Wisconsin. I am pursuing a bachelor's degree in journalism, and I'm not quite sure what I want to do after graduation, but it will be in one of two fields. I'm extremely passionate about drug addicts and the recovery sphere, and how it's a lifelong thing. I'm a recovering addict myself. I spent almost a decade in and out of addiction, and it severely affected my life. I've lost friends, I've buried friends, and I've worked really hard to get back to where I am. And in addition to being passionate about seeing addicts find freedom and recovery, I'm equally passionate about at-risk children from impoverished areas, or often the children of drug addicts or people in poverty. I grew up as an athlete, and I have used sports and rap music to connect with high school and middle school kids through the church and several other nonprofit organizations that honestly granted me access to the public school system. In Lynchburg, I was able to be a part of Freestyle Fridays, where every Friday in one of the English teachers' class periods in what's the high school? I think, what is it? It's been so long since I was in Lynchburg. It's not Heritage, but it's the other one. It's in a pretty rough area. But I was able to spend an entire academic year every Friday rapping and building relationships with young kids who, when I first got there, they didn't want anything to do with school. And by the time the end of the year came around, they were passionate about pursuing college and finding jobs and getting out of the street life. So I'm really into that, to those two things. Unfortunately, I started experiencing crazy, chronic, consistent pain in my hands in 2015 and 2016, and by 2019 I was in severe pain 24/7. I was sleeping in braces and working in braces on my hands. I ended up having 3 surgeries back to back to back. And then a couple of years later had a few more surgeries, and I wish I could say that I've been healed or found relief, but it has still severely affected my life. Before the injuries, I ran about 30 miles a week from the time I was in high school all the way up until 2015 and 16 when I started experiencing the pain. It affects 3 of my 4 joints, my right knee and then both hands. In addition to running, I played golf several times a week, and I played competitive basketball several times a week. But now that I can't play sports, I'm still struggling to find things that I thoroughly enjoy. I do a lot of walking. I do a lot of walking on different trails and in nature, because that's about my limitations. For the first couple of years, I was so bitter and angry that I couldn't even set foot on a basketball court or watch sports or even anything, but I've learned to live with it and get through it and let go of the bitterness. So now I really enjoy watching sports, and I really enjoy being a part of youth sports as like a coach, especially with basketball. My dad was a coach. My dad was a D1 player. 2 of the 3 biggest high schools in the state of Wisconsin are in my hometown, and my dad has the scoring records at one of the schools. The state tournament for basketball is during the same time of the March Madness tournament. So my dad was a varsity coach. So I remember as early back as being a 6th grader in middle school, if my dad's team didn't make the state tournament, all the coaches would take a week off of school and go up to Madison, where the Badgers are, and the capital of Wisconsin is, because that's where the state tournament is. So they would go up there and watch the tournament to see which teams are going to be good next year and who to watch out for and how to prepare. But during the day, they would sit in the bar and watch the March Madness tournament. And my dad would pull me out of school as an 11-year-old boy and let me go sit with him. And man, I felt just about 100 feet tall. That's probably one of the best memories of my life. I'm not exactly sure what I want to do after graduation, but I want to use journalism and writing to serve those two communities. Initially, I wanted to get an internship with Vice and do reporting on, cartels and political corruption and stuff of that nature. But I didn't really hear back from Vice on the internship, which doesn't surprise me because every journalism major in the country probably wants to work for Vice. It's extremely hard and, the highest level. And my sights aren't exactly set on that anymore, but I do have an internship opportunity with Voice of the Martyrs in outside of Dallas, Texas. They are an organization that basically tells the stories of the persecuted church in the East, the 1040 window, which is like the Middle East, which is Southeast Asia. And they go and find families that have made it out of those closed countries, and they interview them and tell their stories and write their stories and bring the stories to the West and produce a magazine and newsletters on social media in the West. I'm extremely passionate about that as well. I think there's, they definitely probably have their own set of problems as a collective church over in that part of the world, but they're not the problems we have in our church. One thing that I have seen and experienced in my time as a Christian is how pain and hard times affect our relationship and perspective of God. I've struggled with it. I see a lot of people struggle with it when they go through, a death in the family or a physical ailment, or any time our lives are affected in a really radically negative way. It takes us time to get through, I don't want to say blaming God, but walking with God in the same way as when things are going really well. And that is not an issue the persecuted church has. And I'm just really curious and interested to learn and honestly fascinated by how they look at suffering as an honor, whereas we look at suffering as an annoyance, at least I do. So I don't want to keep rambling on, but that's who I am. That's a little bit about me. Again, my name is Kevin, and I'm really excited to do some learning with you folks. So holla at me.